Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will sing the phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow with whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Plotaholics Podcast. Brian, how are you?
I am feeling like a proud Papa Bear tonight, Shane.
Yeah.
As I was telling you off air, my son Brian Jr., who you guys have seen on the Plotaholics live show about 3-4 weeks ago,
Right.
has been promoted to red belt in Taekwondo.
When you told me that, I thought, here's a kid that is on his way to being in the Matrix 5.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm telling you, he is definitely going to be ready to run up walls because he's 10 years old. He's strong as an ox already.
Yeah.
And he's got as soon as he grows into his body,
right,
and gets rid of that, that awkwardness that a lot of us have when we're coming out of childhood, going into adolescence. Oh my goodness. This kid is
and the fact
monster.
that he's stuck with it this long and he's already progressed to a red belt means that he's probably going to stick with it.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those things that I took piano when I was a kid. I think most of us took some kind of instrument when we were young, and then I decided at some point pretty early on that I just didn't care for the practice part of it. But I feel like if I'd started younger, maybe that would have just been understood that that's a part of life. And maybe that's
right.
where Brian Jr. is.
I agree. My mother tried teaching me how to play piano when I was 3, and I rebelled against it. And there's a lot of things, though, that I really wish that I would have. Well, I started karate at a young age and wasn't able to continue through no fault of my own.
Right.
Dojos come and go. And then when I was a teenager, I was pulled out of my karate school due to personal parenting blunders by whatever. I won't get into that. But then I did finally achieve my black belt while I was in my 30s, but I still had, and one of the things that really helped me along was that I still had my basics that I was really good at, that I practiced over the years. So, but I'm gushing with pride right now.
Yeah, and you should, man.
Like
that's quite an accomplishment, and I'm happy to hear that Brian Jr. has accomplished such a great thing, because in my own personal life, I have yet again fallen off of the wagon, Brian.
Oh, man.
0 days sober. I binged on some plot earlier today.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh. Well, Shane, don't feel too bad, because I also fell off the wagon. I also had a little bit of a binge as well.
Yeah.
And I think we binged on the same Vice, I believe.
Yes, yeah. The cocktail this week is Men in Black. The OG Men in Black.
The Men in Black, Galaxy Defenders.
No.
You know what's funny? Funny story. When Sharon and I finished watching Men in Black last night, because see, Sharon's never watched it.
Okay.
Until last night. I started to do the Will Smith Men in Black dance.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started, I happened to look, and she's trying to record me on her phone. So I flipped her off and walked away.
Oh, Sharon, this is not what we talked about. You were supposed to be much sneakier.
She really wasn't. Honestly, if Sharon were in the CIA, there would be no secrets.
Right. she would be like, we're giving you
just,
guys LSD, right?
Well, I just offended her because she was able to hide the fact that she had bought I got my bass for Christmas, and she had kept it hidden from me for months. So I guess I can't make fun of her too. Plus, she snuck it into the apartment like real secret agent style.
So really, not great at surveillance. Like she's good at secrets.
So she's good at secrets, but she's not good at surveillance at all. She wouldn't make a good PI.
Right.
Like,
there you go.
She's no Jessica Jones.
Well, we'll just have to keep trying to get that video of Brian doing the Will Smith Men in Black dance.
And I really almost did it too, because I was just starting to get into it, and I looked over my shoulder and I saw her holding the phone. It's like, F you.
Brian, I have not watched one of these, and there's a line of these movies that come out. This one, Wild Wild West, which we're doing in a couple of weeks, is like this. Where it felt at one point it felt like it wasn't summer until you heard the new Will Smith song during the closing credits of whatever movie he was in.
Exactly, because during the 90s, when Will Smith first came up, he was the Dwayne Johnson before Dwayne Johnson. He was, and I think probably
better than Dwayne Johnson.
You know what? I think that their charisma is matched as far as screen presence. Yeah. But I think with like being able to dive into roles, I think you're right. I think Will Smith, with his performance in Pursuit of Happiness and Ali and in 6 Degrees of Separation, I think that's not to say that Dwayne Johnson can't do a good character in a film. It's just that, let's be honest, Dwayne Johnson gets paid to be Dwayne Johnson under different names.
Yeah, and I don't know that he has a desire to, but I'd be interested to see what he could do with a part like that,
Well, he wasn't Be Cool, where he played a homosexual character.
And he was in that kind of weird
Southland
Tales from the guy that directed Donnie Darko.
Yeah, as Boxer Stavros. But even still, a little bit of that, he was Dwayne Johnson being Boxer Stavros.
What did you think of Southland Tales?
It was so odd that I really enjoyed it. And I loved his dynamic with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, I thought that movie was way underrated.
Oh, I agree 100%. Southland Tales is like almost a more indie version of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it has a very similar vibe to that. And it reeks of Donnie Darko too, like of if I showed you 25 movies and I was like, okay, here's Donnie Darko, what other movie out of this list was directed by the same guy? You would be like Southland Tales.
And I think that's the only thing that works against it. Is that it felt too much like Donnie Darko, and it wasn't Donnie Darko.
Right, when maybe that's just his aesthetic, but everybody, I think maybe even more than that is that everybody wanted it to be more Donnie Darko.
Right.
And so we kept looking for those little things in there. But anyway, it's a cool movie and something we should add to the list.
Oh, absolutely. Like that, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I think we should at some point just do a whole month of indie films. Mm-hmm. I think at some point that's going to be a must, and those are some of the films that we definitely should do, or just mind bending films.
Yeah, add Inception to that list, and you've just about got the month filled up.
Just about, because even like Equilibrium kind of twists your mind a little bit.
Equilibrium's a good one too.
It really is, but Equilibrium is like the poor man's Matrix.
Yeah, I would argue. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. I would argue that we would need to do Memento, but that's two Chris Nolan films, and I don't know that we want to do 2 Chris Nolan films.
That's a lot of Chris Nolan to take in at one time.
Something to think about. As
absolutely.
We approach the new year. Brian, our 2019 is already filled up, so we don't have any more space.
Sorry, guys. We now's not the time to send your requests.
We are going to get to a couple of requests before the end of the year, though.
Absolutely, and that's going to take us into our next thing, but more on that later.
Yeah,
because
right.
we have the Men in Black.
Yeah, it's clearly for those of you who are just joining us, which is everybody because we just started recording. I told Brian before we started that when we are recording this, Hurricane Dorian is busy making its way to North Carolina, which is where I live. And I'm, maybe 100 miles from the coast, something like that. And so we're not going to get beat up too bad, but still, school's been canceled because we're under tropical storm warning for tomorrow. And so I'm a little loose tonight. I'm a little loose on hurricane booze, and so I might be a little distracted.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I'm a little bit jealous right now because, I wish I could, let my scalp down, but, I can't do it.
I like it.
See
I like
what
it.
I did there.
Yeah.
Yes. But now here's the thing with Men in Black. And this is going to factor into my rating, so I might even want to hold on to it. But I will say that Men in Black it's a lot of fun. In these early Will Smith movies, it's definitely up there as one of the best. And primarily it's because, keep in mind, when Men in Black came out, hold on. Bear with me.
Well, while you're working on that, I'll slice these folks off a little piece of the summary. Let's see. So a police officer joins a secret organization that polices and monitors extraterrestrial interactions on Earth is perhaps the most economic summary that I've ever seen.
It really is. It really is. Sorry, the cord going into my my mic fell out because I didn't have enough slack. But yeah, that is a very simplistic summary. It's very simplistic, but
and it's works. Really just the premise of the film. It doesn't dig into the characters very much, which we will do. But let's mix it up a little bit tonight.
All right,
Brian,
let's do it.
Let's kick off with our ratings.
All
Why
right.
not?
You want to do it? You want to give the have dessert first?
Let's do dessert first.
All right. Well,
let's have Smiley break off a little bit of what our rating system is all about.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So what can I get you?
All right. So before we ever talk about the movie, Brian, what do you give Men in Black?
Here's the thing, and I was telling this to Sharon last night. If you haven't seen Men in Black, you are going to be astounded. It is going to blow your mind because it hits you in all the right spots. It's funny. It has action, but not too much. It gives you that bit of Will Smith that you come to expect, but it's the mystery. It's all of that, with this government organization. And even when we're within the organization, the storytelling is so great that it's still secret. It's still odd to us. But after you've watched it, after that mystery and magic of it is done, it's a fun summer Will Smith flick.
Yes.
And that is its only real shortcoming. And that's no one's fault. It's just the film. So with that in mind, I give it a 2-shot rating, just so that you numb yourself enough to be amazed by it.
Right. And again, it's sort of unprecedented for us to be exactly on the same page, for multiple weeks in a row. But I'm right there with you again this week. I'm a 2-shotter on this one too, for a lot of the same reasons. I have some real beef with parts of this movie watching it this time, and I haven't watched this, just like Independence Day. I have not seen Men in Black since the 90s or maybe the very early 2000s. And it became apparent to me when I got to the end of this that I don't think that I ever saw any of the sequels.
I have seen Men in Black 2 and Men in Black 3. I refuse to see Men in Black International.
Right.
And
that sounds right. I thought I had at least seen Men in Black 2, but when I got to the end of it, I was like, it feels like Tommy Lee Jones shouldn't be in the next one, but I think he is.
Spoiler alert, he is.
So,
but
I clearly haven't seen it. So I'm coming at this as a standalone film, basically.
And honestly, I feel like Men in Black should have just been a standalone film. 2 is, I can't crap on it too much, because if it weren't for 2, we wouldn't have gotten the amazing, the wonderful, crap, what the hell? Her name is like right on the tip of my head. She's in Sin City. She's Claire Temple, the night nurse in the Netflix Marvel shows. Rosario Dawson. Thank you. If it weren't for Men in Black 2, we wouldn't have been introduced to the gorgeous Rosario Dawson.
I mean, I feel like we would have probably still gotten her just in something else.
Right. And then Men in Black 3, I got my first glimpse at Mike Coulter, who would become Luke Cage.
Yeah.
And we would not have gotten the amazing performance by Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin being a young Tommy Lee Jones. So those 3 things in mind, Men in Black 1 could have just been the only one.
When I look at the end of it and talk about having dessert first, the ending of the film, there's a really beautiful symmetry to Men in Black.
Right.
Where it opens with Tommy Lee Jones and his partner. They're investigating this thing, and his partner ultimately decides to retire. And then that same scene is sort of echoed at the end of the film, where Tommy Lee Jones' character also retires.
Well, the only thing is, though, is that B in the beginning, he is an old, like you can even tell when he gets out the car, he's on his last legs. Where Tommy Lee Jones, he still has a lot left. I think with the Tommy Lee Jones character with Agent K is that he wanted to go out on top. He didn't want to get to that point where he was a shell and he couldn't enjoy his life.
Well, there's also this really great moment where Will Smith's character Jay, that when he catches Kay looking at a computer and essentially looking at like spy camera footage of a woman that we come to discover is his love interest, I guess.
Right. Yeah. He was spying on her from satellites. You want to talk about a gross misuse of power.
Yeah.
However, and that was, and can you and I love how he tries to play it off. He tries to stay stoic, but he's falling apart. And then, Jay, Will Smith, goes, well, it's better to love and lost, never to loved at all. Being his silly self. And then you just get that, try it. Like, Tommy Lee Jones is going to whoop your ass if you don't shut up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The dialogue here on the page is not incredibly well written, but these actors deliver it incredibly well.
Absolutely. Their chemistry, their delivery, they make a lot work that shouldn't.
Yeah, the chemistry, especially between Jones and Smith, is pretty spectacular.
And even the tertiary chemistry with the late great Rip Torn as well.
Yes. Yeah. I like his character. Also, Michelle pointed out, she laughed at his name when it came up in the credits. She was like, his first name and his last name means the same thing. And I liked, I think we're always sort of going beyond the top build to see who the MVP is. And the MVP of this movie is, for my money, Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah.
Thank you. I was going to say, if you say anyone other than Vincent D'Onofrio, I'm going to scream Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio kills it.
He is so amazing. He plays two characters in this movie.
Yeah.
And he does both so convincingly, so well. And I swear, everything I've ever seen Vincent D'Onofrio in, he is amazing.
Yeah, in Men in Black, Vincent D'Onofrio plays the farmer whose skin
Edgar.
is worn by
The bug.
Yeah,
the bug, our main antagonist. So Vincent D'Onofrio plays a dual role of Edgar and the bug.
Yes.
Now, he beat out, according to Wikipedia, John Turturro and Bruce Campbell. They were offered the role, and Vincent D'Onofrio eventually won it.
His physicality here, especially when he is the bug in the skin, the physicality of that performance is like on par with anything Jim Carrey's ever done.
Absolutely. And it's not even so much cartoonish. It's realistic. I mean, you've got
it's believable as
believable as it can be.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like he's this bug, because bugs fit into small spaces and they make it work, and that's what this bug did. And he is always on point with it. There's never a point. And one thing that I noticed this time around, watching it from a critique viewpoint, is kudos to the makeup department, because as the movie goes on, the D'Onofrio looks more and more rotted, and like he's dead and he's rotting. His eyes have gone milky. His skin is starting to go like bad. He looked more and more like a zombie, like he should be in a Romero movie.
Yeah, there's an article I'm trying to track down now that I've seen recently that essentially just praises that performance and that everything about that performance. It's a Vulture article from just this past summer in June. Vincent D'Onofrio's Men in Black, a sugar water oral history is what it's called. And we'll make sure to put that up on the Facebook page, link you guys to that once this episode is out, because it's good to sort of see like a retrospective of this thing, because this is a 1997 film, and so clearly special effects have come a long way. When I'm watching this movie, similar again to what we saw with Independence Day last week, most of the special effects in this really do hold up. There are a couple of scenes where the blue screen or something kind of takes me out of it a little bit, but for the most part, they spend their money well on the special effects moments.
Absolutely. And a lot of the effects, minus the bug, are very practical effects.
Well, I mean, there's this.
There's a few others, but
when the bug reveals himself at the end, when he's like ripping his skin apart, part of that is real. Like part of that is practical effects. But whenever he reveals his face, it's CGI. And a lot of the monsters, or a lot of the aliens, I guess, that you have walking around Men in Black headquarters, they're CGI too. But there are a lot of practical effects in this, and we've come out in very much in favor of practical effects on the Plotaholics.
Absolutely. Practical effects are the best way to go. I mean, I understand that CGI, it makes you try to make things look a certain way, and I get that. CGI does have its place. However, practical effects, I mean, there's something to be said about that.
I'm starting to think that really the only real perk of CGI over practical effects is movement. Because you can make CGI do whatever you want to do. Practical effects can get a little clumsy sometimes, but it can't. You'll never convince me that it's cheaper to go CGI, because you have to hire so many animators.
Right, and doing computer work is expensive. You've got to get really specialized, powerful computer equipment to be able to.
You're telling me you're going to hire Lucasfilm or Industrial Light and Magic to do your CGI, and it's going to cost less than hiring Jim Henson's puppet company?
Seriously. Or to get Tom Savini to show up.
Right.
And I mean, and that's, and talking about, bringing up Tom Savini, taking it back to to the makeup of these things. I mean, even things that should be ridiculous, like at the very beginning with Mikey the alien being disintegrated and exploding all over the border agent. That's still, and shout out to Uncle Rico, John Grise in this movie.
Yeah.
As what was his character's name? I can't remember off the top of my head. As the van driver, they said his name. I think it's like Earl or something. But yeah, even that effect, even though the alien was CGI, that effect of the explosion and that that makeup was really on point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It was almost like blue Nickelodeon slime.
Yeah.
That just kind of splattered all over the place.
Yes. But it's so great.
It really
then, of
is.
course, and then you see the cleanup crew show up with their flamethrowers, burn it and put it out real quick. That was so great.
Yeah.
But this was a movie that it really pokes fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And what I really love, they're saying how, aliens are on the planet and they're like cab drivers. Nah, not as many as you would think.
Right.
And that scene really got to me because it's like, how many people would really look at a New York cab? I've never been to New York City, but New York City cab drivers have this stigma of being so odd and weird and creepy. And then it's like, no, we still have oddballs from Earth. It's just that there are also aliens around.
Yeah, I also thought that it was a really, I thought it was a cool choice to start the film with an illegal border crossing.
It's so relevant now.
Right. Yeah. It just shows you that these stories just don't really go away. They, what's relevant now is probably going to still be relevant 10, 15 years from now. But the Men in Black show up and they take care of it, and they essentially let all of the, there's an alien hidden in amongst from
the illegal aliens.
Right. Yeah. And so they take him off, and they're like, the rest of you are free to go. And he thanked the border agent, and he was like, keep protecting us from those aliens,
keep protecting us from dangerous aliens.
Right.
And it's like he has no care about anything on Earth. It's all about,
Well, yeah, and I think that right there, if this movie has a moment where it makes a kind of an important philosophical point, it's that moment where once you become aware that the real important border crossings are the ones that are coming from out there, and those are the beings that could actually hurt us, then none of this other shit even matters. Like, it's Earth versus everybody else. It's not America versus Mexico.
Exactly. And I really think that that's something that we need. We need to have an Independence Day experience to finally get rid of some of the racism and xenophobia that we've got.
Well, man, that's one of the sort of big driving points of a lot of sci-fi and a lot of fantasy, is this idea that the only thing that can unite us is an existential threat that comes from outside of us.
Well, we learned that September 11th, 2001.
Yeah. In
a lot of ways, but you're absolutely right. If you look at Star Trek, there's no real racism amongst humans. It's a xenophobia toward Bones hating Spock.
Yeah.
Because are you out of your Vulcan mind? That became a catchphrase and a term of endearment, but at first it wasn't. Bones hated Spock because he was a Vulcan.
Yeah. The example that I always go to is The Watchmen, where at least in the film version, when Ozymandias creates a fake doomsday essentially by setting off these atomic bombs in every major city on the planet.
Right.
He creates the illusion that there is a greater existential threat, and it ends the Cold War. He kills a shit ton of people doing it, but it's that old math. Do you kill a lot of people in order to save everyone else, or do you let us all kill each other?
Right. And that's something that really does make you think.
Yeah. Now, Men in Black doesn't really make you think beyond that. Beyond this opening scene, everything else is just kind of a good time.
Absolutely. It really is. And I have a lot of fun with it now. And once we finish with that beginning, and what I really enjoy is that there's not a lot of exposition. It just goes on. We have to put it all together.
Right, yeah. You get this opening with Tommy Lee Jones and his partner, and then we immediately switch over to Will Smith, who's a NYPD officer.
And it's amazing. Once again, there's no exposition. It's just he's chasing a guy.
Yeah, and there's I don't even think that there are title cards to tell you that you've changed places.
No, you just do.
Yeah.
I guess the guys from CinemaSins are going to be pissed off because they don't have a title card to make fun of.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate the lack of title card. I think that audiences, okay, now given like in Star Wars and Avengers and things like that, sometimes you need to tell us where we are. Right. But if we're just in different places on Earth, we can probably figure it out.
Absolutely.
Especially when Will Smith is running and saying, NYPD, NYPD.
It's like, okay, so we are in New York now.
Right. So New York. Also, when you're busting people for smuggling Mexicans across the border, you're probably on the southern border.
Yeah, you're in Southern California, Texas,
right,
Arizona, in that area. Absolutely. And what I really enjoy is this is yet another film, the films in this time that showed off Will Smith's physicality.
Yeah.
I mean, he really just does it. I'm trying to
find. He gets after it. Now, I wanted to ask you how you felt about Will Smith's wardrobe before he became a Man in Black.
Very bright colored.
And very, very baggy. Like
extremely. It's almost like he's obviously standing out. Even as a plainclothes cop, he's standing out.
I think they wanted him to look. I don't want to say that they wanted him to look street or whatever, because he had a plain white football jersey on and it was tucked into orange pants.
I think a lot of that is it's a metaphor. Well, I don't want to say metaphor because that's a term that you use too much, but it symbolizes that he stands out no matter what.
Right. Now I can appreciate that.
His dress. And then he's joining this secret organization that he's not allowed to stand out. Yeah. He has to conform. Because even among other police, he doesn't conform.
Right.
And now he has to. So I think it does a great job with the bright colors and the baggy look. And even when he goes into the testing with the military, he stands out in every facet that he's involved in.
I want to talk a little bit about when he goes in for his tests.
That is so hilarious.
That is so Will Smith. I want to play the clip. No, I want to talk about when they're in the waiting room and they're filling out the applications, and how he can't figure out how to sit in the chair. And this is just a really nice piece of physical comedy.
It really is, because it's like, he's like everyone else is having the same problems, but these guys are military trained. Yeah. And they're just, and he's just like, you know what? Screw it.
He just drags the table across the room.
And it's like he don't care that he's disrupting. It's like, you know what? I'm having a problem. I'm gonna solve it. And I
check out the hook while my DJ revolves it.
Ice, baby. and I think that scene, I think like at first it's supposed to show again how he stands out, but also what makes him the best man for the job.
Right, because he in all of these tests show like you say, how he stands out, but also how he thinks about things in a different way.
Right.
He sees what other people don't see.
Absolutely.
And to that point, I want to play his exchange with Rip Torn's character after the target practice simulation.
Oh, now let me set this up. So after the test, these guys are shifted into another room, and they grab their guns, and it's chaos, noise, and he just, the military guys are just bam, 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 and he's just watching and waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just lets instinct take over. And then we get to probably one of the best exchanges of the film.
May I ask why you felt little Tiffany deserved to die?
Well, she was the only one that actually seemed dangerous at the time, sir.
How'd you come to that conclusion?
Well, first I was going to pop this guy hanging from the street light, and then I realized, he's just working out. And how would I feel if somebody come running in the gym, bust me in my ass while I'm on the treadmill? Then I saw this snarling beast guy, and I noticed he had a tissue in his hand. I realized, he's not snarling. He's sneezing. Ain't no real threat there. Then I saw little Tiffany. I'm thinking, 8-year-old white girl, middle of the ghetto, bunch of monsters, this time of night with quantum physics books. She about to start some shit, Zed. She's about 8 years old. Those books are way too advanced for her. If you ask me, I say she's up to something. And to be honest, I'd appreciate it if you eased up off my back about it. Or do I owe her an apology?
Oh, that was so funny. That was so great.
Right, really that's definitely above her reading level. She's up to no good.
He's like, little white girl alone, middle of the night in the ghetto with quantum physics books. She's up to no good. She gonna start some shit.
So here's what I want to get to, and that is the idea. I want to talk about world building.
Okay.
Because that is something I think that this movie does really well. We've talked about character and all of that, and the characters here are all good, and I think that the characters are helped by the actors that play them more than the script. But what's really done well is the world building aspect of this. So they have to create a whole new government organization, and they have to show it to us, and they still have to get to a plot eventually. And that plot is like on an intergalactic scale, and they have to tell us what it is and show it to us and resolve it. And so to do all of that in a pretty economical hour and 40 minutes is pretty good.
And they still don't tell us everything. There's still so much left up to, interpretation. There's still a lot of things, and I think that this film does an amazing job at not boggling itself down with, telling us. It just shows us everything. And we make up our own minds.
There could very easily be a scene where like Rip Torn is talking to Will Smith for like 15 minutes about this intergalactic struggle between the bugs and these other people and how they're trying to. Right. Yeah. And, and in a lot of other movies, they would do that exposition dump. But here, this movie understands that it is a summer blockbuster and it's a vehicle for fun more than like brainy storytelling. And so they don't even spend a ton of time on the aliens, really. Like they just are there.
Do their thing. Yeah, it's just they're there and that's that.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah,
and it really works with this narrative.
Yeah, I think so. So here is my biggest complaint about the movie.
Throw it at me. I want it.
Okay, so first, I appreciate that the bug is so, I don't know, empathetic or sympathetic to other bugs on the planet, right? Okay. That when somebody like swats a bug, also shout out to, what's his name? Is it Isaac Cross from Arrested Development?
Oh, I love that guy. Yeah, I do believe David Cross.
David Cross. I think I went to high school with a guy named Isaac Cross.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, David Cross.
Oh, you mean Uncle Ian from Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Right, yeah.
Back off, man. That's Dave Seville. He is so funny.
And it took me a minute, and not just because he had a little more hair, but because he wasn't playing his typical sort of Tobias Funke type character.
Right.
But whenever he would swat a bug, our antagonist, the bug, would get a little perturbed at him or whatever. Like I get it, right? But the bug was on his way off of the planet, right? And Will Smith just stomps on a cockroach, and it stops this thing from world domination.
Well, they do say that the bug has an inferiority complex. And each time throughout the movie, anytime someone does something to a bug, he kind of loses. It's sort of like
it's not unprecedented, but every other time somebody does something to a bug, it's sort of like in his way. So why not just kill this person? But in the climax, when Will Smith is trying to distract him long enough to let Tommy Lee Jones blow him up from inside, the dude is on his way to a spaceship. Like, just get the fuck out, you know?
Well, the only thing that I'll say to that is the time with Cross, yeah. But when he kills the exterminator,
yeah,
he didn't really have to kill him. He just did. And I think that set us up. I think that was foreshadowing right there.
I mean, but he needed a vehicle, like.
Right. But I mean, it's still kind of foreshadowed. But I think
right, yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, it's not like when you get to the end and Will Smith steps on the cockroach, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, no, that's not supposed to happen, right?
It's kind of like the Marty McFly chicken, calling him chicken. In the first movie, it did nothing, but it ended up being this character quirk was introduced in the second movie. And they just ran with it. So that's exactly what that is. It's the Marty McFly.
And I also think that it bothered me that the movie assumed that the bug would feel a connection to bugs on our planet when I'm not sure that they're the same species. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, bugs are bugs. It's kind of like if someone, if one of the Planet of the Apes came back, they would probably try to free the other apes. You know what I mean? You feel a kinship.
Right. I get it, but apes, but like Planet of the Apes they still look like apes.
Right.
Like, this bug is he's evolved so much further than our cockroaches. Right. And maybe that's the point. Maybe he's like, they didn't get a chance or whatever. But here's the real sticking point for me is, how did Will Smith know that would get under his skin?
Well, he did say that he had an inferiority complex. So it could just be another bit of Will Smith's character retaining that information and goes.
But does inferiority complex relate to that? Like, that feels more like kinship than inferiority, right? Like, I mean, I guess maybe it bothers him that he's just stepping on bugs.
Well, he made it personal. He made it personal.
Right. Is that your auntie?
Is that your auntie? I guess that must be your uncle. And it's just like, it's one of those character flaws that there's no rival.
This is one of those threads, though, that, like, the more we tug on it, I'm like, I don't even believe that this bug culture has aunties and uncles. Like, they don't have those words.
What is auntie?
Right. Also, he was very good at speaking English.
He really was.
Which is really, for real. This is one of my biggest beefs with any sci-fi movie, is how many of these other cultures speak English.
Well, we call it English. It is basic in D&D and Star Wars systems. Galactic basic in Star Wars and Star Trek, and basic in D&D. So
right, and I understand in Star Wars for sure. It's like, I mean, it's just like any other colonizer sort of thing, right? Like, English is the basic language because it's the language of the Empire.
Right.
So, I mean, I understand it from that perspective, but it feels like in the world that Men in Black builds, aliens treat Earth as a place of refuge. It's not like Earth is sending out cruisers and
ambassadors.
Right. Like, we've opened our borders to house these people if they are seeking refuge. But again, don't get bogged down on that shit because it's supposed to be a fun movie. But still, as a 34-year-old man watching it for the first time in 20 years, these are the things that stood out to me.
I love it. Well, see, I love the fact though that we can go back and forth where you're the con and I'm the pro. I have the answers.
Right. And I appreciate that, man, because I don't know. I watched half of it yesterday and had a really good time with it, and then I watched the final act of it today, and I was like, I don't know, it just wasn't firing on all cylinders for me today like it was last night.
Yeah, probably because you hadn't had any drinks. Remember, 2 shots. 2 shots.
Yeah. Right now I'm 2 shots in, and I'm enjoying the shit out of it.
So can we? I mean, and I know we've already said it, but once again though, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith's chemistry is so good because you've got that grizzled tough guy, the older grizzled tough guy, and the loudmouth young guy.
Is there a scene that you can think of that exhibits their chemistry in a really solid way?
One of them, I have to say, like the scene where they're going for Reggie when he's on the Jersey Turnpike, getting ready to get away.
Right. And they get in the car, right?
Yeah, and then he just goes, anything about that strange to you? And Will Smith just looks at him.
Yeah.
It's like Tommy Lee Jones is already past that and on to something else, and Will Smith's just like, ugh.
So I completely agree with you. These two, they're money, and at this point in his career, Will Smith was money.
He's still money.
He is still money, but they're like when I was watching this movie, there's just something in his banter. There's a rhythm to this age of Will Smith. There's something in his rhythm and his cadence that's just comforting and hilarious.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and what's funny, I think that when
he's still got a little Fresh Prince in him,
right? And now that he's left that behind, he's become more like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just watched the trailer for Bad Boys Forever, and I'm not excited for this film, but I'll watch it because it's Will Smith.
Yeah.
But I don't even like the first Bad Boys. Like, I watched the first Bad Boys a couple of weeks ago. I guess I shouldn't talk too much about it because we're going to be doing that. That's next week. But even in the first Bad Boys, he sort of has that Fresh Prince demeanor. And then I think it was probably right around Ali that he started to lose. That's
it. Ali was his first big Oscar sort of picture.
Right.
And that's when he started to be groomed as, not just a movie star, but like a cinema. Star. Yeah, right. Like, this is like Leonardo DiCaprio level stuff,
Right.
And he started to, I think it feels a little bit like they start to iron that Fresh Prince swagger out of him.
Right. And because, like Men in Black 2, it's kind of there, but not. By the time Bad Boys 2 comes, it's like, yeah, he's not him anymore.
Right.
And Jersey Girl, he did that cameo and he was himself. But even still, it's almost like, I'm grown up now. I'm
right,
too old.
Yeah. And that's, and that's okay. We all grow up. And I think that's one thing that's interesting about, Will Smith was probably 10. I don't even know how old he is, but he's, 10, 15 years older than I am.
Will Smith is 50 years old.
50, yeah. So he is
almost 51. He's going to be 51 in about.
So he's right around 15 years older than me, which means that I was growing up as a kid watching him on The Fresh Prince. And what was cool about that is that I sort of watched Will Smith grow up.
Right.
As I was growing up. Because the Will Smith iteration that we get on Fresh Prince is a child, at least at the beginning of it.
Right. And then he slowly becomes a man. Yeah. And that's exactly what we saw with Will Smith as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And, Will Smith, he's 11 years older than I am. And I really feel like, he's been a very, very important part of my life as far as, entertainment goes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's just not that Will Smith anymore. And I mean, yeah, we've already said it. That's fine. It's all well and good. And it kind of makes you wonder, is that going to happen to Dwayne Johnson as well?
Or has that already happened to him? Because I mean, like, I feel like I think if you're looking for a parallel between Will Smith and Dwayne Johnson, I think Dwayne Johnson's Fresh Prince years are his WWE years.
And then he brought that into the Scorpion King and, the couple movies after that. So where do you think Dwayne Johnson sort of had his grow up as an actor?
Oh, let's see. Let's look at his filmography here.
I love that we are just like hopscotching. But
I'm a big fan of this I'm a big fan of this version of the Plotaholics, where we just bounce around a little bit.
I am too, because we're still staying on topic.
Let's see. Yeah, so he starts. All right. So after looking at Dwayne Johnson's filmography, I believe that his grow up is ironically either Moana.
Okay.
But no, for real, this is what I'm seeing. So I don't know that he's had the moment yet, because if you look at his titles, it's all sort of like mindless fun action flicks for the most part,
Right.
Like Fast and the Furious stuff, Jumanji stuff, those sorts of things. He's, being considered for Shazam, for Black Adam and things like that. So
he needs to be Black Adam.
I completely agree with that. Now, I'm seeing that Dwayne Johnson is going to co-produce and star in a movie called The King, about the first ruler of the Kingdom of Hawaii. That feels like a more serious role. It's what I'm reading here. It says that it's going to be comparable to Braveheart in tone. He's also attached to produce and star in a sequel to Big Trouble in Little China. It feels like he's trying to take that turn now.
Okay. All right. I can go with that. I can get down with
that. Because everything else has been sort of blockbuster fun movie type stuff.
And I'll tell you something right now. If it's going to be a remake, if he's not Jack Burton, I'm not watching. Because I could see him doing the Kurt Russell. It's all in the reflexes.
I think it's a sequel. This says sequel, not remake.
Well, if it's a sequel, then there's got to be a connection to Kurt Russell in there somewhere.
Right. Now, I think that it might be also interesting to look at these two guys and see when they got married in relation to the turn.
Okay, well, hold on. Well, here's my thing. This is when I think Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, sort of started to shed his The Rock persona. I think it was Faster. I think after Faster, he started getting a little bit more serious about being an actor and was sort of moving away from being The Rock.
I mean, that's fair, but I think we're kind of saying two different things, because I think that you're right. I think that The Rock got serious about being an actor earlier, but he still hasn't taken more serious roles. Will Smith got serious about being an actor around the time Independence Day came out, but he didn't start taking more serious roles until Ali.
Right, but Will Smith started once he did Ali, that's when he left behind the Fresh Prince. And
right.
that's what I mean by growing up as an actor. So when I say The Rock grew up after Faster, I started seeing less of The Rock in a lot of ways, and sort of seeing maybe Dwayne Johnson not being The Rock, but The Rock being Dwayne Johnson, if that makes sense. It's like he's taking what worked, what got him there.
Yeah, he decided that he was gonna play more than one character.
Right.
Gotcha.
Because Luke Hobbs is like, he's almost like Dwayne Johnson as The Rock amped up. Because Dwayne Johnson has always said the character The Rock was him, but turned up higher. And I think that the Luke Hobbs character, that's what he is.
You know what is really good news, Brian?
The fact that we're doing the show and it's awesome as all hell.
Yes, but also that the Plotaholics are officially out of Twitter jail.
Oh, we are?
We are out of Twitter jail.
Yay!
You can't keep Twitter us down. We got an email. This is so off topic.
It really is.
We got an email from Twitter that essentially apologized for mistakenly putting us in Twitter jail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It's about damn time. They owe us a major league apology because we don't even have our account anymore, do we?
No, we do.
Oh, okay.
I deactivated it, but whenever I got the email, I reactivated it, so everything's still there.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's really, really ridiculous the fact that you have all these. I'm gonna get not gonna get crazy political, but I am gonna turn conspiracy theorist. You get these Russian
bots. It's
bots.
A tanspiracy.
Tanspiracy, absolutely. You get these Russian bots that are all over Twitter and everything, and they're pulling all their crap, and they get to act with impunity. But us, the Plotaholics, you're really going to do us like that, Twitter? You're really going to do us like that?
I think it's because I think it's because of your stance on Dave Chappelle.
That could be it. That could have been it.
They foresaw it coming.
Twitter knew that I was going to be pro Chappelle.
Yeah.
They're like, F these guys.
You know who I want to talk about, Brian?
Who do you want to talk about?
I almost used this opportunity to even further take us away from Men in Black, but I'm going to bring us back. I want to talk about Linda Fiorentino.
Must we?
Yeah, man, I want to.
Okay. Can I just say, first and foremost, I am not a fan of hers. I wish to God that her role in Dogma, Kevin Smith's Dogma, one of my favorite films of all time, I wish that her role would have gone to Janeane Garofalo.
So, let me ask you what your problem is with Miss Fiorentino. She
was doing Dogma with Kevin Smith, and she was just a complete pain in the ass. She wasn't fun for him to work with, and honestly, a lot of the time, if Kevin Smith has a big issue with you, then I probably don't like you. She doesn't seem, any movie she's in, she looks bored. She looks like you should be grateful that she decided to show up. And it's like, nah, you ain't no Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, she, I don't quite hate her as much as you, it seems. I am mostly apathetic toward her, but in this film, I thought she was fine. I mean, she definitely could have been played. That part could have been played by someone better, I think, because you're right.
Garofalo.
Do you think Janeane Garofalo would be better in every part that she plays?
Yes, because I love Janeane Garofalo.
Janeane Garofalo is excellent.
Either Janeane Garofalo or Sarah Silverman. No, Janeane Garofalo, because she's Janeane frickin' Garofalo.
Oh, now
I love saying her name. Her name rolls off my tongue like silk.
What is more fun to say, Janeane Garofalo, Mark Ruffalo, or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I want to say Janeane Garofalo, Mark Ruffalo, Jimmy Garoppolo. I just want to say them all together.
All together, right. Anytime I'm watching the 49ers play, which is never, I always call him Jimmy Garoppolo.
So do I. So do I. But I mean, honestly, I want Janine Garofalo to marry Mark Ruffalo, and her name to be Janine Janine. I can't even.
Janine Garofalo Ruffalo.
Ruffalo. Yes, I want her to be Janine Garofalo Ruffalo. So
but
bad.
not Janine Garofalo.
No, because F him. He hung out with Tom Brady for a few years. F him.
Yeah, he's got the stank on him.
He's got the TV stank on him.
So, yeah. So...
tuberculosis. Oh my God. We've officially got off the rails, folks. The mustard is off the hot dog.
Oh, man. Fonzie just jumped the shark.
Hey!
That is a good thing we got the ratings out of the way early.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that we would remember to do it at this point.
No.
So Fiorentino is the weak spot for you. Is that where one of your shots comes from?
Yeah, because she's just very unlikable, and I mean, I would like to hope that she's a really sweet person, and I know everyone on this planet, even the most detestable person, has someone on this planet that loves them, but I don't like her, and there's a lot of movies that I would have liked to have seen that I just won't see if she's in it. She is.
You know who she kind of reminds me of? Hold on, let me make sure that it's not actually her. Claire Forlani.
I love Claire Forlani.
I agree, and I think it's just that they're both kind of muted, and they're both kind of quiet. But I think...
Yeah, but Claire has a much more loving person, has a better person.
Yeah, I love Claire Forlani. Can we have a moment, and you may not like this movie, but I am a huge fan of Meet Joe Black.
Meet Joe Black is a pretty good flick. So I'm all for it.
As far as, chick flicks go.
Right. But it's such a cool movie.
Give me a movie where Brad Pitt eats peanut butter and is confused by it, and I'm there every time.
Most of the time, if Brad Pitt is in it, I'm probably going to want to see it.
Yeah.
Because he is such a fun actor. I would love to see Will Smith and Brad Pitt on screen together.
Yeah. In Men in Black International 2.
Slow down. You're taking it to a level that is unnecessary.
I
would like them to be in a buddy cop movie called Ebony and Ivory Strikes.
I
I
like it.
Now roll with me in this for a second.
Yeah.
Will Smith is a detective who's leaving West Philadelphia. He feels like he's getting a little bit older. So he moves.
Now, let me ask you a really quick question, though. Was he born and raised in West Philadelphia?
Yes, he was. He is West Philadelphia born and raised. Okay. As a kid, he spent a lot of time on the playground.
Okay. Did he ever get bullied or anything?
He did, but then he started working out, 7 days a week for 10 hours a day. Sort of like Bob Stone in Central Intelligence.
Got it.
So to sort of go for a more quieter life, he moves to Oklahoma, where he meets up with Doug Ivory Weston, played by Brad Pitt.
Have you written this fucking script? This is so specific.
I think honestly, you would think I did. No, this is just coming from. I'm just being a writer.
His name is Doug Ivory Stripes.
Yeah, his nickname is Ivory. Yes, and Will Smith's name is Ron Thunder Ebony. So his last name is actually Ebony. Ron Ebony.
Ron Ebony.
Yeah.
Thunder.
Yeah, his nickname is Thunder because he used to box, and his right hand, he called it
Thunder and Stripes.
Well, it's going to be Ebony and Ivory, but yeah, Thunder Stripes. Yeah, we can go with that too.
Thunder Stripes.
So Will Smith moves to this, Oklahoma town, and he becomes a cop. And there's contention there because Stripes was the top cop. And now here's Ebony. So they have to get together on this case. You know, these meth dealers who work for the Klan. And Stripes' older brother, played by John Grice, a.k.a. Uncle Rico,
Love it.
the head Klansman. That is Oscar. It may not be Oscar worthy, but damn it, that is bringing in over $585 million in the summer season.
Absolutely. Can we do like an extended universe where these two guys catch the mule from the Eastwood movie?
Absolutely.
Where they like gun down Clint Eastwood?
Yes. Basically, Clint Eastwood was running mule for these Klansmen. This was supposed to be his final job, and he gets gunned down because he's just had enough. And he's an angry Polish guy named Doug Kowalski, not to be confused with Walt Kowalski.
Well, I'm sold. How do I finance this movie? Are we doing a Kickstarter?
I think we should do a Kickstarter, a Plotaholics Kickstarter for this. This is going to be a great film. I love this.
I love it. I love everything about it. So here's the last two things that I want to mention.
Okay.
Clearly, we are not high on Men in Black International, so we're not going to go there.
Because I don't want people to say that I'm sexist or homophobic because I don't like the movie.
Right. You didn't see it, did you?
No, I have no intention on seeing it. It is a steaming pile of poop. Hey, I don't need to see the shit to know it smells bad.
Right. You mean you don't need to smell it?
That too.
Did you ever see Men in Black, the animated series?
Thankfully, I think I've blocked that cartoon from my from my mind.
I've never seen it. I do know
they did it, and it was supposed to be a continuation of the first movie.
Right. So again, the movie ends with Agent K retiring and getting his brain wiped, which is my other beef with the movie, is I'm not real sure that I buy the whole mind wipe thing. I buy it. I buy the mind wipe, but it feels like they wipe the mind before they're ready to give the person a new memory, right? So, for example, when they're in the morgue, they wipe the doctor's mind, and they just leave a dead alien with a face open.
Right.
Like she's gonna see that.
Right. And it's like, you're just gonna have to do it all over again.
Right. Like clean that shit up and then wipe her mind.
Seriously. Well, or the fact that, he wipes, he goes, yeah, what you saw, there was no UFO, just swamp gas. I got caught in a pocket, blah, blah, blah. And now weak ass story is the best you can come up with.
Right. Also, how about this woman says, and who the fuck are you? Like, because if he wiped her memory for like the last 2 weeks, then she definitely doesn't know who the fuck this guy is.
Seriously.
She's like, I'm pretty sure I saw you on TV. Weren't you running from the law? No, you were the law. You were chasing Harrison Ford.
He tried to tell you didn't kill his wife. You didn't care.
Right. I do want to give one more MVP shout out. It's less valuable than your boy, but still pretty valuable.
Okay.
Of course, the MVP here is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Absolutely.
I think my secondary valuable player here is the soundtrack composer Danny Elfman. Danny
Elfman is the man.
He's so good. He works a lot with Tim Burton, and you can hear that sort of Beetlejuice-esque music in this score. But that Men in Black soundtrack, that pulsing, it's very Danny Elfman, but it's very good.
Well, he's also the front man of Oingo Boingo, who did the title tracks for Weird Science.
Uh-huh.
And he did the band song Dead Man's Party was featured in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield.
Also, let us never forget that he wrote what I consider to be the most iconic Batman music in the Tim Burton Batman film.
Oh man, and what's crazy is that a form of that is still used.
Yeah.
You know, it was in the Batman animated series.
Right.
And even to this day, that is like the quintessential, that is the standard. It is most everything Batman, that music.
It is, in terms of superhero themes, second only maybe to John Williams' Superman score.
I was just getting ready to say, get out of my head, you mofo. The Superman theme. Here's some of the music that Danny Elfman.
The dude has a crazy deep discography.
He really does. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Good Morning, Mr. Orwell. Let me see, where else are we at? Forbidden Zone, Summer School, Back to the Future, Big Top Pee-wee, Hot to Trot, Scrooged. We already said Batman. Tales from the Crypt. Yes, the Tales from the Crypt show. Clive Barker's Nightbreed. Dick Tracy. Darkman. Edward Scissorhands.
Now you're going to get into like some crazy titles. This dude goes on a run in the 90s.
Seriously. And I'm going to, let's see here. Edward Scissorhands, Article 99, Batman Returns, Army of Darkness, Summersby, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
He does a ton of work with both Sam Raimi and Tim Burton.
Yep. Well, he also was on the soundtrack for Dead Presidents, Mission Impossible, The Frighteners, Mars Attacks, Men in Black, Good Will Hunting, Sleepy Hollow. I'm sort of skipping because so much. I mean, good God Almighty, Spider-Man.
Yep.
The 2002 was a busy year. Spider-Man, Men in Black 2, Red Dragon, and Chicago.
Yep. And then Hulk, Big Fish, Spider-Man 2, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Corpse Bride. I mean, this dude is all over the place.
Meet the Robinsons, Charlotte's Web, Wanted.
I mean, you look at this guy and we talk a lot about John Williams, but Danny Elfman is sort of the underappreciated, underrated composer in Hollywood.
If there was no John Williams, Danny Elfman would be the gold standard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would put him right there with like Hans Zimmer, for example.
Absolutely.
And who's the other guy? Horner, James Horner.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. This is a whole different discussion. I mean, we can do a whole show on composers for film. And maybe we should at some point in the future because
I'm into it. I love that shit.
Because score makes a film. Look at The Godfather, Superman, Batman. I mean, we've already touched on it. The score makes these films what they are. If these films did not have that music, would it be as good? Would the Godfather be as good if it didn't have that music?
Yeah, as writers, we can, and just as creative types, we can talk a lot about collaboration. And if you're a writer, director, and you approach one of these composers, and you have an aesthetic in your mind, right? And you're trying to sell the composer on this aesthetic. That's why I think you see so many composers work with the same directors over and over again, because once they sort of learn what that person's looking for, that's a relationship that you can't get better than that if you really speak each other's language.
Absolutely. And I don't know really how else to really put. I mean, it's so well done.
I thought of that because I think that the opening title sequence, we talked about Napoleon Dynamite's opening title sequence a couple of weeks ago, how cool that was with the condiments and everything.
Right.
I think that this, with following the dragonfly and even the font choice, that sort of like drawn out, everything about that opening title sequence was just visually very different. Like you were instantly transported into a world that felt a little different. And I thought visually and audibly, they did a really nice job of doing that for you just in the opening, 5 minutes.
Right. And I'll tell you something, he Just great.
Yeah.
Just great.
Oh man, anything else you've got on Men in Black?
Not really. I mean, we touched on a lot of the things. I think the story is the story in and of itself. It's not anything. I mean, it's unique in its own way, and it's sort of plays on a lot of the paranoia of the government knowing about, aliens and stuff. And I love the little joke where he's like, hey, what branch of the government do we answer to? None. They ask too many questions.
Yeah.
So
the story is pretty cut and dry and pretty simple because it's really not about story. But at the same time, I wish this movie had the balls to follow through on its ending. Like, if you're gonna make a sequel, fine. But that ending is really beautiful, and you kind of underwrite the sincerity of that first chapter when you go back on it.
right. And I like I said, I think that a lot of this movie, it sort of does its own thing. And the one thing that I really like with its narrative, though, is how it's like this ever expanding and growing world.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, it's like, yeah, all this stuff is going on, but you know what? There's always something going on. MIB agents come and go. There's always something that's going on, but we don't know about it, and the world keeps going. And so I think the way they handled that ending was sort of in lieu with the overall theme of the film. So, like I said, it's nowhere near terrible, because even if you have seen it and you do choose to be sober watching it, it's still fun. You can still have fun with it.
Will Smith destroyed a bunch of shit in there.
He really did, especially with that noisy cricket.
Yeah, he didn't even get in trouble.
He really didn't.
Like, his first day on the job, he destroyed
office.
the lab. What, do you think those beakers were full of liquid for no reason? Like, somebody's going to be pissed.
Seriously. He should have gotten some sort of reprimand. No one said anything.
No, not a damn thing.
It was just like, meh, okay.
They're like, oh, this guy threw a super bouncy ball around the house and blew everything up on his first day. Give him a gun.
Yeah. And then, of course, he has his noisy cricket.
Right.
And just causes all this damage. And it's just like, they do not know about it. That's like the most trouble he gets into.
Right. What's really funny about the noisy cricket to me is that the filmmakers were faced with this dilemma. They want the noisy cricket to create such a kick that it throws Will Smith backward, right? But they also have to show that the noisy cricket causes a lot of damage on the other end. So you always have the fire, the damage, and then like 3 seconds later, Will Smith is flying backwards.
Well, I want to know, like, we never see the energy that causes it. So does that mean that, it's just invisible plasma?
Yeah, maybe.
I
don't know, man. Like, the science behind Men in Black. Well, now we're getting into it. I don't know. Maybe it's a 3-shot movie.
Thinking about it, yeah.
Like, it's so fun and it's so mindless, but it's hard not to compare it to Independence Day, because they're both invasion films on some level.
Yeah,
and
but
they
there's
both
not,
have Will Smith.
Yeah, but it's not like crazy destruction.
Right. And that's not really the point.
Right.
The point is, I don't know, Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith driving around in a car. That's really the point.
Yeah.
It's like these two guys being funny together. Just like the point of Meet the Parents was Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro being in the same room together. Like,
Right.
You create these movies, the story sort of becomes secondary to just these two guys riffing on each other.
Right. And I think with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, they're so different. They're different in age, they're different in everything.
Yeah.
And it all plays off each other. I would watch a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith just on a road trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, right?
Exactly. I would watch that if Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones were put. I would love to see a Lethal Weapon remake with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith 30 years ago, but I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Right.
Because at this point, Will Smith should be saying, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah. Right. And so I feel like you only make a new Men in Black if you can get Will Smith to come back, even just for the beginning, just for that opening scene where like he's on a job with Chris Hemsworth, right?
Right.
And he decides that it's time for him to retire, and now Chris Hemsworth has to go find his replacement.
Exactly.
Something like, you need Will Smith in these movies.
And I
Just
think
like you need Will Smith in Independence Day too.
You really, really need a Will Smith in Independence Day. But you know what? Will Smith was smart enough to be like, yeah, staying away from this piece of shit.
Yeah, he's like, I've already made one shitty alien movie, and After Earth, I think I'm gonna probably. He's like, he's like, my batting average for alien movies is still pretty good.
That is what we call a burn.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
right.
You better make sure you put some aloe on Will Smith's back, because that was a burn.
That is a gentle burn.
It didn't go gentle into that good night, I'll tell you.
No, it did not. It did not. And the only reason that it didn't hurt worse is because nobody saw it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man, I think that's probably gonna do it, man. I think we've done Men in Black.
We've done it to death. We've ridden the train.
Right. We wrote a new movie for Will Smith and Brad Pitt. We talked about Men in Black the animated series. We talked about Uncle Rico transporting illegal immigrants. We talked about how much you hate Linda Fiorentino and how much we love Claire Forlani.
And Janine Ruffalo.
And we love Mark Ruffalo and Janine Garofalo and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. Those are the awesomest trio of names ever. They should have their own like detective agency.
Hey,
Garoppolo.
Is Jenna Elfman related to Danny Elfman?
Let's look. Let's look and see. Jenna. Oh, I think she is.
That seems like a thing that would be true, right? He's married to Bridget Fonda.
She's married. No, Jenna Elfman is married to Bodie Elfman. So no, she's not related to him.
How many Elfmans can there be in the world?
3 or 4.
Yeah, definitely a couple more than Ruffalo Garoppolos.
Ruffalo, Garoppolo, and I can't do it. Fucking Jimmy Garoppolo gets in the way.
Man, I think that somewhere in that list of names we have new merchandise ideas.
Oh yeah, Garoppolo, and Ruffalo.
Yes.
Can you imagine if they could even be lawyers?
Yes. Oh God.
Garoppolo, and Ruffalo attorneys.
They would definitely be like wrongful termination lawyers.
Oh my God, yes. We get you money because fuck those guys.
Right. Man.
But Sharon can't be their private investigator because they'll see her filming.
And that is what we call in the business full circle.
Absolutely. We've come. You guys can't see it because it's a podcast, but full circle.
Man, but they can feel it. You can feel the circle being fulfilled.
Oh, I can. In more ways than one. You need to be filled, Bethany Sloan.
And may that circle be unbroken, Brian.
Absolutely.
You can find the Plotaholics at plotaholics.com and on all major social media, whatever that means. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Plotaholics. Really, the easiest way is plotaholics.com. We do an occasional live show on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m.
Yeah, we didn't do it yesterday because there was really no news.
It was slow, man.
All we had was the next casting in the Suicide Squad. So Doctor Who comes to the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and maybe Pete Davidson.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, if if the Bad Boys Forever trailer would have dropped yesterday, maybe we would have done a show then.
Right.
Because then we would have had two things to talk about.
Well, we'll be able to go next week. We've got a couple of things.
Absolutely. But yeah, just go to Plotaholics.com and catch us. If you want to listen to the podcast again, go to Plotaholics.com, or you know what? Find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're there.
That is Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, et cetera. We're everywhere, baby.
So on and so forth, baby. We taking over.
That's
We're like
right.
the NWO of podcasts.
That's right. I was always Team Red and Black, though.
Oh man, Men in Black, Red and Black were awesome.
I was a big fan of Sting and Scott Hall.
Absolutely, I was a big fan of them. You know, oh my god, I remember when Macho Man Randy Savage joined the Wolfpack. The Red and Black's the bomb. Ooh yeah.
Gotta tell you, your Randy Savage is way better than your inspirational speech for children on the school bus was last week.
Dig it.
Oh man. Well, for the Plotaholics, I'm Shane Wilson.
And I'm Brian Tan.
And we'll talk to you again real soon.
See you next week.
Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo. If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
Sometimes the end game is the perfect place to start.
We're in the end game now.
And other times you want to pretend the prequels were never a real thing. Let's just pod race to the end.
It's working!
Every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club or two. We are the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you. Shane and Brian are an island, two real-life misfit toys, wanting to be a RoboCop.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Settling for Black Circle boys, and just like Dr. Hammond, extracting amber from wood.
And later there's running and
A
screaming.
little too busy asking if we could, and never asking if we should. But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow with whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.